I'll look into my golden bag of holding. I'll look. We'll see what the internet also has to give. So I've just got this folder on my laptop called Golden Bag of Holding, and if I see like a picture or a meme or just something that makes me happy, I just stick it in there. And it's there waiting. So like on Thursday night, she's like, I'm done. And then I'm like, okay, let me just look into my Golden Bag of Holding, and I found the two photos of like Daniel teaching us React. And I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah. I lost it at 10.
I mean, it's still like this.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's go ahead and get started. We have a lot of exercises today. Lot. All right. How's everyone doing? React day 1. Today is React day 2. Still liking it?
Yeah.
All right. It's time to make it hateful for you guys now. I'm sorry. That's how it is. We start nice and then ease into the hateful part. So. All right. So today we already did the React part, creating React. Today we are going to look at some of the more important and extremely necessary. I mean, these React is not complete. This is what React is. So you're going to see the real side of React today. All right. Again, it lends a lot of power. These the concepts that we are going to look into it. But I will warn you, they are tricky. They're not easy. It takes some time to get used to it and understand. Again, so today we have a lot of exercises. If you guys saw, I posted. I said create at least 9 templates. If you did, really good. I did the same. I followed the same path. If you didn't, then good luck. You will be creating exercise, or you can just keep using the same one. Whatever. It's up to you guys. So you will be overwriting the same thing. So if you're fine with it, it's okay. But as you see, we have a lot of exercise. We'll be going a little bit faster. But this doesn't mean if you have any confusion, concepts, please ask questions. I want to make sure that you guys understand the concepts extremely well. Coding part, it will come. Okay? All right. Oops, wrong screen. Let's go ahead and get started. So we started Wednesday, Thursday, and we talked about React. We said React is all about components, right? I drew some pictures and I talked about components. What it means is that your web page that you're building, you divide it into smaller pieces, okay? Smaller pieces, and those smaller pieces are called components, right? Then we looked at the coding part. Coding part, what is component? When we go to the coding, it's basically a function, right? We saw how do we create components. We were creating basically functions. So components from the coding perspective are JavaScript functions, simple JavaScript functions. Okay. So the components that we saw, they have a technical name, the function one, and they are called function components. Very technical. Okay. So function that's what we have looked at. We're going to look at another form of components today, and those are called class components. We are going to take a look at it and then see. Okay, so if you go by the name function components, we were using JavaScript functions. When I say class components, this means I'm using classes, right? JavaScript classes. That's what it is when it comes to the coding part. All right, so components. This is the browser. This is your website. Remember how the components start? They start from the parent and then it kind of branches out just like a tree structure. Okay. Number 1, what do we call this component when we go to the coding part? App, right? App.js. That's our building block. That's our first component, right? Of course, you can go ahead and rename it, give it any name, but usually you will say you will see that there's always going to be like a app.js, um, app.css, and all that stuff. All right. After that, 2, 3, 4, 5, those are all components that are kind of breaking out. Initially, we saw maybe like one, at least two. But when you are doing your projects, when you are building website, you will have a lot more components than just like even 5. Okay. As you can see, app one, this is the big one. Then it kind of have all these child components over here. Okay. Advantages of this, you can build those separately, right? And then you can reuse them. All right. So if I have a component 3 that I want to use it somewhere else also, I can just call that component and start using it. I don't have to go ahead and recreate and create again. Okay. So reusability, that's one of the bigger pieces. That's what the components really help us with. Then there's another important part is the testing part. I know we haven't looked at it, and there's no separate week or a class for testing. We touch testing in our project 2. We'll do the same thing, but in the industry, you will see they have unit testing, TDD, and all that kind of stuff. Testing is a really big part, and with these components, it helps us. Now we just have to test a smaller component versus kind of creating a test that tests everything, right? We can test these components in isolation, make sure those are working, and then move on. Okay, so testing is a big part that kind of helps with these components. If you translate, instead of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, you translate to your app, this is what we saw, right? Starts with app, then you can have your components, anything you want. Okay? These components can further have child components. Again, basically, it's a tree structure. Tree structure is like a technical name. It's actually a data structure, and this is how it actually looks like. Okay, tree with branches. All right, so these are the 3 points I talked about the components. This is the advantage of components that they help us with. Oh, let me go back. Okay. All right. Any questions on components? Everybody gets the idea? Any confusion? Everybody good?
So components are separate functions.
Components. Components. If you're talking about the coding perspective, then they are, yes, JavaScript functions or classes. But components as a concept is that you are taking your web page and dividing it into smaller pieces. When you talk about the concept, they are small pieces of your UI. Those are components. From the coding part, yes. Coding part, they're either JavaScript functions or class components. Right now, we just have looked at functions, so that's our knowledge. But there are components that are also class components. When I say function component, this means I'm using a JavaScript function, right? And when I say class component, this tells me that I'm going to use a class instead of a function. We'll take a look at that today. Okay? All right. Then we looked at JSX. JSX is, you can say like a programming language that React, that Facebook has come up with for React. Again, we understand that we don't have to use JSX. You don't have to use it, but it's embedded in React app. We saw some of the syntax. It's kind of similar to HTML, but they say it's closer to JavaScript. But it's still relatable. So there shouldn't be any big reason that we shouldn't use JSX. It kind of goes well with React apps. Okay. Again, JSX is like the syntax, the library, the programming language that React uses to create its components. Okay. Let's see. All right. This is what I was saying. It looks like HTML, but of course there are differences. One of the differences we saw was when we are importing CSS classes, right? Instead of class, you're going to say class name, right? Camel casing. This is how we do it. Okay. Is there anything else that we looked at? Do you guys remember? What was it?
Extend.
Oh no, I'm talking about JSX.
Oh.
Yeah, any other difference? We are going to see some more today. I'm trying to remember if there's anything from Wednesday or Thursday class that was different. Yes.
So the tags that didn't require closing tags in regular HTML, you have to close out.
Oh yes. What did you have?
I was thinking, wasn't it like single, curly braces instead of the double?
Oh yes. Those are those are part of JSX. What I was asking is versus HTML. It kind of looks like similar like HTML, right? But it has some differences. So one of the differences that we saw was if you in HTML you would say class is equal to a CSS class. Instead over here you will say class name.
The closing tag thing.
Yes,
is
yes.
weird,
That's the one that every JSX tag has to have a closing tag.
though.
That's
It's strange because sometimes they'll have the closing div, and then other times it'll just be.
well, either you will have this or like this. It has to have a closing. Both are closing tags. Both are right in HTML. Remember, if you want, if it's a self closing tag, you do something and you just close it out. You're still closing it out. So JSX kind of requires that everything should have a ending tag. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, let's see. Curly braces, important one, right? JSX uses curly braces and it's similar to our handlebars. All right. Same thing. You see, we saw some of the concept. This is importing the CSS, which I said don't do like this. But this kind of gives you an example that how it evaluates. Okay. Within curly braces, you can put any JavaScript you want. It's going to be treated as JavaScript. Okay. Any operation, variables, function, you can do anything as long as they are inside those curly braces. Okay. Let's see what else was there. Okay. We already discussed this. It's same as whatever the concepts that you saw in handlebars. Same thing over here. Again, when I introduced handlebars to you guys remember I said the concept over here is important, right? These things are not AngularJS uses it, Vue I think uses it, React uses it, but it's the same concept. Okay. And then handlebars of course uses it. Okay, but the concept is still the same. It's just the syntax is different. Instead of double curly braces, they are using single. That's the only difference. But the concept is still the same, that if there's any JavaScript between those things, it's going to be evaluated. Okay? All right, any questions? This was kind of a quick revision of our first class. Any questions? Okay. All right. All right, so this is the new part, props. Props is a short form for properties. Okay, we are going to look at what are properties or what are props. Okay, in our function components, we saw you just create a function, right? Okay, and were we passing anything into our function? No, it was empty, right? There was no parameters. We were not passing any arguments to it. Props comes into play when you pass an argument to your function components. That's what props is basically. So if I have my function component, right, and let's call it, there was example to do, right, and this was empty, and then I had a return statement over here with some JSX. Right? Now, what are props? If you pass a parameter over here, this is props. Okay? Now in the coding part, when we get to, you will see this variable, this parameter is called, is it props or props? I think it's called props. You will see it is called this. So you're passing something. Okay? And what is this? What is the data type for this? If you had to take a guess. JSON is not a data type. You're close. Yeah, object basically. He's right. I mean, it's going to look like JSON. It's not a data type, but yes, it's going to be an object. Correct. So this basically what you're saying to your function components, you have the ability to pass an object. Now, what does this object have? We'll take a look at it. But basically, it's just a JavaScript function, and you're passing a parameter. Again, do I have to call this props? No, I can call anything you want. Okay, but generally, you will see in examples and React apps, everybody kind of uses props. So, and why? Because it gives whoever looking at your code, they understand what props are, as soon as I see the props keyword or props as the definition, I'll be like, oh, I know what's going on, right? But you can call this P, properties, anything you want. We'll just confuse people, but that's up to you. Okay? All right. Before I proceed, any questions on this? Everybody understand what this is? What's going on? Just an argument. Yes? You had a question? Oh, a thumbs up. Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that. All right. Thumbs up. All right. Now, what some of the properties of this object that you are passing in? All right. All right. We'll come back to. We'll see. This is kind of same thing what I was saying. Number 2, immutable. Anybody understand when we talk about programming language? It's not JavaScript specific. It's the keyword is immutable is valid. Does anybody know what it means?
It's what happens when we declare a variable as a const.
Exactly. Immutable means you cannot change that variable. You cannot change it. Okay. Now, props. This object that you pass in cannot be changed. It's called immutable. Okay. What does this mean? This means that whatever value that you get, whatever properties, whatever values, data that you get in props, you can use it. It's read only. You cannot modify it. That's one of the extremely important properties to understand. You can try it. It's going to give you an error. It's not going to work. Okay. Behind the scenes, as Michael was saying, maybe they're declared as a constant. I don't know what they're doing. But any object that gets passed into your function components, this thing is immutable. You cannot change it. It's read only. All right. Always remember that. Can be used to change the default behavior of the component. We'll take a look at it, because if I'm getting this right, I'm going to use it. It's not just coming for no reason. It's coming in, so I have to use it. We'll see how do we use it and what do we do. Okay. All right. Any questions on properties? Everybody kind of understand the concept, right? JavaScript function, you're passing a argument, and it's just called properties. It's a JavaScript object, and it has some data. We'll take a look at it, what comes into it. Okay. React DOM.render. This is again from the previous class. If you open up your index.js, remember we went through the coding part. We went through the boilerplate code, and we saw this function React DOM.render. That's the first function that gets called, and that's the one that goes and modifies your DOM. Okay. And what was in React DOM.render? Anybody remember what was going on inside it?
You passage the component, and then you passage where you want it.
Right? Get element by ID, and you pass in the root, and that's it, right? If you remember, it's again behind the scenes, it's just JavaScript, right? They're calling get element by ID, nothing rocket science, nothing super complicated, it just eventually it's just JavaScript. Yes.
Do we ever have to touch the function of the virtual DOM getting pushed to the real DOM, or is that always just handled?
It's always handled. Yeah. Unless you go ahead and mess around with this and kind of change your comp. The most, I would say, if you instead of you don't like app.js, you go ahead and rename it, then you have to come over here and change, because this one is expecting app.js. That's the extent that I would think so. But otherwise, yeah, it should take care of everything. But what we need to understand is that React.render, this is the function that goes ahead and creates your UI. Okay? And then we talked about virtual DOM. Right, React.render is actually updating your virtual DOM, and then behind the scene it goes ahead and updates your real DOM. Okay. All right. Any questions? Everybody understand the concept part? All right. Good. Thumbs up. Okay. All right. Now, excited? Now we'll go ahead and start looking at properties. Let me close this up. All right. Again, this I already talked about this on Thursday. What I'm doing is nothing different. If you look at the lectures, everything, I'll be honest, I'm just going through this React documentation. I'm going one by one. That's all. Anybody, you guys can pick it up and start doing it. All of this is just, we did the hello world, we did JSX, today we'll do rendering. Oh, we did the rendering elements, and now we are going to do components and props, then state. It's just the documentation basically. Okay. Again, but I've seen, and I also, it helps people when somebody is explaining to me versus if I start looking at it, I don't get it. So that might be the only good point over here. Okay. Again, these are all examples over here. Let's start with the first one, which is props. All right. As I said, I already have all these exercises, boilerplate code. That's it. It's only boilerplate code. There's nothing else over here. Okay. I hope everybody understands that. It's a basic app, and then I'm going to build whatever the examples that we're working on. Okay. So the first one we'll start is the props demo. All right, in this, what I'm going to have is I'm going to use the Bootstrap alert alert box, and that's going to show up on the screen. So in my coding, if I have the tree, I have app, and then I'm going to have a component called alert. This is how my app looks like right now. Okay, app is a parent, of course, and then I have one component alert. So if that's the case, then I'm going to go ahead and create a component. Component alert.js. Okay. Before even we begin, we should make sure that this is running. So we go ahead and do an npm start. Make sure there's no issue with this one. Okay, awesome. All right, let's keep this open. So I have my alert.js component. I'll come back and remove all of this. I don't need this. Okay. Let's see. I need to add some Bootstrap. Let me go ahead and get a Bootstrap link so that we can actually render our alert. React app. So this one, what I did was I just went. You can Google CDN Bootstrap, and the first thing, it's a stack path or something. That's where I'm copying this from.
There's one in the README for.
Oh yeah. The README has it. The only thing is, it's what version? It is like 4.0.0. You can copy it. Yeah, it will work. I'm just copying it for the latest one, but that's also fine. That will work too. Okay. So I don't have to modify anything with index.html at this point. I added this, and that's done. All right. So I can come back here. I'm going to open these two so you guys can have a little bit more space to see. All right. So over here, I'm going to create a function component. Right, that's what we're doing. So function component, the first thing is we're going to import, and then, come on, help me. Oh, there it is. Import React from, and then do it React. Okay. Create a function alert. All right. I'll come back to this parameter. Let me stub this out. Return some JSX, okay, and then export default. Define export default. Okay. Set some empty div so that it doesn't stops complaining. Okay, so this is how I define my stub it out. Let's make sure this is running. So let's go ahead and fix this part too. The font. Oh, I was hoping you guys could see it. It's better. All right. The only thing about this is it like blows up all my screens. So all my screens are like now bigger, but that's okay. All right. So what do I need to do over here to make sure this is I get my alert? So first thing is import alert. / component. Yes. / alert. Okay. Awesome. It's default, so I don't need the parentheses. I can do without it, and then go ahead and create alert here. Closing tag. Okay, I don't have anything over here, but looks like it's working, so it doesn't give me an error. So, oh yeah, we'll still have to come back. All right, everybody good? Stepped it out. Now we have this is our basic component created. All right, we are talking about props, and we said that there's a it comes as a parameter, and somebody passes it as an argument. Okay, here's the other part. It's going to be important. Props or properties are unidirectional. What it means is there's only one direction that props can go, which is from top to bottom. So this means properties are passed from the parent to the child. That's the only direction these properties can go. Properties do not exist in the child. They are always passed down from the parent component. Okay? It's unidirectional. It goes from parent to child. It does not go where there's no way you can send it out. Okay? Properties are not for that. It's immutable. You cannot change it. So whatever the parent is giving it to you, you have to accept it and use it. All right? You cannot change it. You can only get it. All right? So if I have props in my component, without looking at the code, who's giving me these properties? Where is this object coming from? Which component? Which component am I getting this object from? Huh? Alert.
Oh, I thought you were on it.
Right. So I'm already on alert, right? I'm getting it, so it cannot be over here. So it's coming from my parent. And what's the parent of alert? App. So this has to be coming from app. Right? So this kind of helps whenever you are making your components, kind of draw it out in your mind or on a paper so that you kind of follow through and you know exactly what's going on. So if there's any issue with the props in my component, I have to go back and try to find out what parent is it sending and then look at the code that what am I getting over there, right? Because at this point in my child component, I already have it. Everything is built up. The object is built. I cannot change it. So whatever data is, it's already here. It's already made. It's already here, right? If I want to see what's wrong, what is going on, I have to go back to the parent and see what are the properties that it is passing. All right. Always remember that props coming from your parent, coming from the parent component, not your parent. All right. All right. Any questions so far? Good. Unidirectional, immutable, cannot change it. Remember that. All right. Now I'm getting something. So the parent component has to pass this prop. So this should be this parent component. So now we are going to look what the parent component is passing. What is when I say type is equal to danger in HTML terms? What did I just do? What is type? Button. I mean, it could be a button, but class for the alert. Well, if it was a class for the alert, I would use the class name. But again, that's not the point. I'm asking in HTML terms, anything that comes between your HTML tags, what do you call this type? What is it? That's it. It's an attribute. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. In HTML, what do we call anything? It's an attribute. Okay. So, in your component, anything that is an attribute, this gets put into your props. Okay. This is part of your prop. Now let's go ahead. I have an attribute over here. Let's go ahead and console log this props now and see what happens. Let me do this first. Let me take it out so you guys can see there shouldn't be anything in the props. Let's go ahead and console log props. So it's empty object, right? There's nothing. Go ahead and add any attribute. And there it is. You see it? So one thing to note over here is any attribute, HTML attribute. Now, I mean, of course, JSX doesn't call it attribute, but If you talk about HTML, that's a better way. These are called all properties when you talk about JSX. These are all get embedded into your props argument. Now, can you add something else? Sure. What else? Let's say name. Name. Let's say alert. Now I have two properties over now, name and type. You can keep adding how many ever you want. But these are your properties. This is what gets passed from your parent component down to your this component. All right. Now I know you are passing this in your alert, but again the concept is that alert this is created as a separate component, but this is being called over here, so you pass it. You're calling it from your parent component. Okay. So these become your properties. These become your props. Now you can access them over there. How do I access? Same JavaScript. You can say props dot. What would I call props dot type, because that's what I'm getting. And then then if I want to access the second one, I will say props dot name. Okay, and this is how you pass values from one component to the other one, basically from your parent component to the child component. Now, I mean, this is still, it stops over here. Let's suppose you have other components over here, right? Then alert becomes the parent, and it's going to pass some properties, some data inside to the components, to the child components, right? Again, this is extremely important because you need to pass in data somehow, and this is one of the ways that you pass data from your one component to the other component. Okay? Let's see. All right. Any questions so far? Are we good? Okay. Now let's see a more, like, how would you use these properties that are getting passed in? Before that, there is a. All right. So this is basically in ES6 part. I'm not sure if I don't think I at least covered it, so that's why I'm going to show it over here. It's called template literals. All right. What this means is, if you're console logging something, let's suppose I have a const name. You will see this syntax a lot, right? And I want to console log this name variable. This is how I do it, right? If I want to say this name, my name is, this is the other way you would do it, right? If you want to add something, or you can do with a comma also. Okay, these are the couple of ways that we have seen. Now there's the third way that is introduced in ES6. Again, this only works in ES6, and what you need is dollar parentheses, curly braces, right? And these are backticks. Okay, this is on your left top corner of your keyboard. These are backticks. Okay, in backticks you can put the same string, my name is, and then you can put the whatever variable that you are using. So what happens over here, the syntax is kind of short. You don't need commas, you don't need to concatenate two strings. Instead what you do is put it in a backtick, and then whatever you're trying to evaluate, again remember the curly braces, JavaScript, it kind of evaluates. Same thing in ES6, dollar curly braces, and put whatever you want over here. Now the good part about this is this can be used anywhere anywhere in the backtick. So you can say okay, it will still work. That's the good part about it, that this variable can be used anywhere in the middle without any concatenation or anything. So you will see this in the React code as well. Okay, everybody questions on this template literals? So this is called template literals. All right, so I'm going to use this in our code over here. So I'm getting type. So let's go ahead and render this alert now. Let's give this a class name. Let's give it a class name of something. Okay, so I'm passing in danger. I want the class name to show up as danger. Oops. Let me say alert. Alert is your bootstrap classes. Okay, and if it is, remember those classes, either it is, I think, success, right, or danger, right? One of those, you can use any of those. So this time what I'm doing is I'm passing what, do I need success or do I need danger? So this is coming in my properties. Oops, wrong one. And how do I, again, I'm using template literal over here. All right, so what do I have to do to access the type? Props.type. Props.type. Okay, you saw it already became red over here. Okay, if the type is given, let's go ahead and put this and then put some message over here. Row. Okay, this is from your bootstrap. Again, do you guys see what happened? The CSS class, it got converted into alert danger. Why? Because I'm passing danger from my app component. Okay, again, these are your bootstrap classes, and I added my bootstrap into my index.html. Okay, now I want to show some text over here. This is an alert. Okay, and this is how it shows up over here. But even this thing, you can pass it from your parent component. Let me comment this out so you guys can see what gets passed in. So right now I'm getting type and danger. Now instead over here, if you go ahead and type a string, oops, let's close this out. Okay. Now look at the props. I have type, I have name, and then I have children. So anything that you type between the JSX tag comes as a property which is called children. Always, this children, the name is fixed, and this is anything that is between the JSX template, the JSX tags, it gets passed as children. Okay, as a children property. So I want to access this. How do I access this property? Props dot. Yep. Why didn't this work? What am I missing? What is it? Curly brace. Excellent. Why? Because this is a JavaScript object, right? And if you want anything to be evaluated in JSX, it has to be in curly braces. Okay. Change if this is an alert from a component. It will change over here. All right. Properties. These are all individual properties. You can pass anything you want, any name you want to give, and class name, whatever you want. This thing in between the JSX tags is part of children. All right, questions? Got the idea of props, and this is how you use it.
Can you go over something, the name?
The
Where that name comes from?
oh no, this I was just giving an example because I was going to use the same syntax over here. This is just an example.
So
Of
aren't you using name as
No, I'm not there.
as props dot name?
Yeah, this is, I was showing you that you can put anything over here. So I'm not actually using name anywhere. You can remove this. I'm not using alert anywhere.
Oh,
I'm just using the type. Yeah, I was just showing you that you can add multiple properties and it will still work. Yeah, we are not using. Well, you can technically use the name over here if you want. You can put dollar name and that should also work. I think so. Let's try it. If I do this and I say props dot name, okay. So what am I getting? I'm getting alert. This gets evaluated to alert because I'm passing the name as alert, and now I'm just making it fancy. So you can even replace this. Stop it! Don't do it. Don't. So yeah, you can get as fancy as you want. Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's do a exercise, and this would be number. Ooh, this is a good one. Number 24, props calculator. This is a really good one. So I showed you super complicated example, and you guys will do a super easy one. It wasn't apparent? All right, calculator. Let's see.
Super easy.
Super easy. Nope. Nope. So we are building a calculator. Again, start with this. Take a look at the instructions. So this is what I'm going to do is, how much time do we have on this one? Let's see. Oh, it's so easy. You guys can do it in 10 minutes. Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'm not the one who's setting the time. All right, so you have like 10 minutes to take a look at it. Look at the folder structure, what it is saying. 6 minutes in, I'm going to start coding this one out. If you're stuck somewhere, please look up and see how I'm completing this one. But go ahead and at least start on this and see how far you get. Okay, I want you guys to read the instruction, look at the folder structure, and see how you would use this. I would recommend drawing it out kind of in your mind on a paper. Make sure you understand what your components are and what data that you need to pass in and where. If you guys prefer, you can work as a group, as a team. That's perfectly fine by me. So I already have this. I'm just going to run this to make sure that my unsolved works. So cd calculator npm start and see what it shows up. Okay, so this is the unsolved one. This is how it should show up for you guys. Write a component named math. Write the one variable in the place of each question mark. See if I have a calculator component and then I have my app. Okay, so looks like my diagram is app calculator. Okay. Write a component named math. See. Let's look at. I'm going to look at our UI. So I have. This is my app. Then I have some numbers over here. 19 plus 341 equal to 42 minus 17 equal to. And this is calculator component. This is app. This is calculator. And then there's question marks. This is a separate component that is app. Okay. Take a few minutes and understand where does math go over here in the diagram. And what are my options? It can either go here or it could go over here. So where does it go? Right? Again, have the diagram first before you're coding. Otherwise, you're going to be confused. Where does it go? And how do I make that decision?
Well, the calculator uses math.
Calculator uses math.
Yeah.
So where is it here or there?
Yeah.
Yep.
So what it, because that's what I said was when you import math and math in, you make the math component into the calculator.
Yeah. Right. How there's no other way you can use it. Yes. But would you import math over here?
That's what I was confused. No.
No.
You just put it
Yeah,
in.
you don't need it. It's yeah. So you want import it over there.
So I had it set up. It was just like figuring out how to use everything.
Yeah, and that's the next step. You will get to it, but if you have this right, then you can go ahead and now you have to look at how to first create the math component, right? And then go ahead and see how you to pass stuff in. So the first create the math and imagine and assume that you're going to get properties, right? And go ahead and code it. You can do that part.
Yeah.
Problem will come when you try to pass in, but over here, create a function component, pass in properties, and assume what are you going to get in your properties. You're going to get an operator, numbers, you're going to calculate the result. Right? So this, you can make the assumption and code the math part.
Okay.
And then you can come back and see what you have. So in my component, I'm going to create a math.js. And as per this diagram, this is going to be a child component of calculator. And my calculator has numbers, operations. So my calculator is going to pass some data to my math. And the only way is to do props. So my function component is going to have some props. What is this? I just clicked this show fix it. It fixed it. It removed it. That was a fix for this. Wow. I'm saying, you want me to fix it? Yes. I'm going to just remove it. Everything fixed. So I have props. Let's go ahead. Huh?
Putting the variables into, that's what I'm.
Okay. Let's see how do we do that. So let's go ahead and stub this out. I need to return div something. We'll come back to it. That's okay. We'll step by step. I'm stubbing. First thing is you stub it out. You can feel good that I wrote some code. That's what I go with. Export default math.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, now I have some code. All right, at least that's a good first step.
That's what I did. I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, what happens in a calculator? You're getting props. Okay. What do I have to do? Same calculator part. If I get a plus, then I have to add these two numbers. If I get a minus, I need to do. So these are operators, right? And how am I getting them? I'm going to assume they are going to come in props. I can name anything, right? Since we are a little bit more smarter, so we're going to use a switch statement now. Props dot. Let's assume that it's going to come as operator. Okay. So if I get what should be in my properties now? I should have a operator because I need to know is it plus, minus, multiply, blah blah blah. Then I should have two numbers, right? Number 1, number 2. Okay, and these exist in my calculator. How do I pass these three to my math? Through properties, right? I'm going to create properties. I'm going to create three. I'm going to create an object and pass those in. So one of the properties would be an operator. Okay. Again, this does not exist. I'm going with the assumption. I'm going to create these back in my calculator. But this is how it should be, right? And I can check if it's a plus. What do I do? Props should have first number, and then property should have second number. Okay. Put it in a value and then send it back. Result. Okay. Result is equal to props. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and see how do you show this back now? So where are the question marks? This thing. So let's go ahead and return this. In a span. Okay. So instead of div, now I can go ahead and change it to a span. Oh, time's up. Okay.
So it doesn't matter a div or a span. You don't have to have a span in div.
It should have one parent, right? That's what I said. It can be anything. It just has to be one parent. Could be a span, div, anything, as long as there's
So that's why
simple. And then what am I returning? Whatever the result I get, I return it back. So this is the HTML the JSX that's going to be rendered when you call this math component. So I just did once. Let's go back and fix over here. Now I have my calculator. I need to pass these three things into my math. All right. So the first thing you're going to do is import our math calculator. Import math. Okay. Let's go ahead and in the p tag you need to pass this in. So this question mark is supposed to be replaced, right? And what do I replace this with? My math component. Excellent. Math. Okay. Do I need to pass in something in the middle? Let's close it out for now. Save some code. Okay. Now what do I need to pass in? I'm calling it operator. So I need to pass in a operator. Let's pass in plus. Oh, it has to be. Okay, that's my first property. Why do I have this extra? Okay, my second is num1. What am I passing in num1? 19. And then I have num2. And I'm passing 142. What happened? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I'll let that slide. Yeah, let him do his thing.
Hey, I should have changed this one for you.
Yeah, just to really stick it to the man.
Well, I'm glad to know you guys are actually watching. I would say nobody's watching. All right. Did you guys see how I did this?
Yeah, it made sense.
Made sense? Yes, John.
You go back to Math.js just for a minute.
Okay.
So, you
Getting.
inside this function where let equals result, it's showing that it's not getting called, even though it's down inside the switch statement. Next, like result is inside the switch statement.
Is it inside this function? Again, this is the function, and everything is inside this function, so everything should be accessible. So I have this is a JavaScript function, script, and then I just do a return. That's what I'm doing.
He got me.
What was the issue?
Inside the span, I was handling the result.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't handling.
I see what. Okay. Now similarly, you can go ahead and put a minus, multiply, and all that stuff, and you should still get the same results back. Again, you see the dry. I just need to use the same component and just pass in different values, and it should work. Now here's the shortcut. Well, it's not too much, but you see the string. Anything that you pass in, like a number, you have to put it in curly braces. Why? Because it has to be evaluated. The string is a special case. You can just pass it as a string, and your JSX will still recognize it as a string, and it still will work. Okay, but this is only valid for a string. You cannot pass anything else without the curly braces. You have to pass everything in a curly braces. I mean, if it confuses you, that's okay. Just go with the rule of thumb that everything has to be in, that has to be evaluated, has to be in curly braces. String is special. You can remove curly braces and it will still work. Otherwise, all of this has to be in curly braces. Why? It's a JavaScript thing. It has to recognize it and it has to evaluate it. Okay?
So are you saying that's the optimal way to do it?
I'm not saying there's any it doesn't make when you say optimal, to me I mean efficiency or code processing. It doesn't affect. It's just a shortcut to confuse more people. That's what it is. Yes. Math.js. Okay. See, that wasn't too bad,
Yeah.
was it?
It's, yeah.
You starting to hate React yet?
Yeah, and I was really happy with Thursday, then you're just really.
That's how it is with everything. Yes.
Did you create this file? Because I didn't have this in my.
The math.js, yeah, we created.
Okay.
Folder?
I was working on
The math.js.
The file?
The math component, yes, we created that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's in the instructions that you have to create a component.
I just thought that would break down.
The calculator,
Yeah, it says over here create a math component.
it says create a new component, say all maths.
How did you miss the most important part?
How did I miss it? Because I'm trying to keep up. I'm trying to keep up.
So, Daniel,
First step is do the readme part, yeah?
I like it real.
is it better, would you consider it better to do it like this, or would you consider it more efficient, like in the component, to have like a split where you just take in like that whole string and you split it based off of like the spaces and like you work off like the array instead of having to like in the actual calculator having to pass in each value. You just pass in like the string, and then in the math.js app, you just like split the string up into an array.
Sure. I see what you mean. So there will be only one property called
String or like
whatever, and then you pass in the whole thing, and then you have to do a lot of string manipulations to extract it out. And
yeah, you just do like a split and like up the spaces, and then like you like operate or like
again, it's a use case. I mean, that would be extremely valid in a different use. For this particular use case, it might be overkill. Yeah, it's very small. But I like it. Yeah,
I was just wondering.
It happens.
It's just like it's very
Now,
repetitive.
why would it? I mean, you see, these are, if you do this, these are all objects. One object. Remember JSON? That's why it's popular for, right? Everything is now as an object. You can just do a dot property and access it. For that part, you have to break the string. And string operations are always very costly behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's true.
They are very costly. So
Yeah.
this would still be the better way.
Daniel.
Yes.
So like I did it, I had this use case and I didn't have a break. Like after a couple of them, when I put a bunch of decimal points, like why did it? And then I added it and it took the decimal points and it just I don't know why did it do that.
Interesting. All right. That's any other questions? What is it? Yeah. I did one, but everything else is copy paste. So you guys can do the other ones. All right, let's go on to the next one. All right, Nick, can you slack out number 25? 25. All right, we are moving on to exercise number 25. This, trust me, any questions on this before I move on? Everybody understand the grouping part, how I divided everything and how I accessed it? Any questions? Because next one is getting challenging now. All right, we'll have multiple components and we are going to be passing data in it. All right? Yes. Did somebody say anything? All right, so the next one is number 25, and I want you guys to take a look at number 25 and spend minutes and understand what's going on with that. Same concept, it's still the properties, but now it's getting, the example is getting bigger. It's a little bit more challenging than what we just saw. So take few minutes, look at the folder structure, run it. There shouldn't be any coding changes. It should be working. What you have to do is look at the folder structure and how these things are divided and what is going on. Oh wait, is this? Let's see. Number 25. The review thing. Yes. Again, take few minutes, calm down, look at the folder structure, draw it out, and then go ahead and start solving it. It's a little bit trickier. But once you see the solution, when I start going through, you'll be, oh, okay, yeah, I get it now. All right, so take a few minutes. Draw it out, whatever it takes, understand how it is divided, and then go ahead and solve. What we are doing is we are kind of refactoring this solution that is given to us. And read the README.
Okay, I got it.
What is it? Oh, let's see. Yeah, he slacked out the. It's on the. Yes, there. Yeah. Now you can choose either what Max or Nick to get out. I was going to give them a choice. We have preferences. Tuesday people choose Nick. Whatever Nick slacks on, I'm going to choose that. CD review npm start. First thing, make sure your unsolved is set up correctly. Shows up somewhere before you begin. Okay, so unsolved is working for me. Notice how wow, you guys can do this in 10 minutes apparently. What was that? That's a suggested time, 10 minutes.
10 minutes for everything.
10 minutes for everything.
Today is more accurate.
Well, I have at least one person who is starting to hit React now, so mission accomplished.
I
mean, the meme is just accurate. He's just like, it just grows with accuracy.
So Michael already knew what's coming, so that's why he was saying it.
I hit that part on 9 o'clock on Thursday, so every other part before that I got.
You got it?
I mean, the memes, they just speak to me. They call me, and I like it.
This is actually the easier versus what I'm going to. I'm trying to push you guys to the boundaries you haven't been pushed. So you guys are alert in the next part.
Do not push me because I'm close to the edge. I try not to lose my temper. It's not, I don't know, I only know that from the day you have these. Yeah, it was so fun. I just feel like really.
So basically you're refactoring and adding some component and trying to kind of change this part. So even before you begin, let's see, app.js. So let's see what I have. I have my app. Then I have my, let's see, wrapper. And then I have 3 children.
Number 25.
SpongeBob card. Mr. Krabs card. Okay, this is my current unsolved one. Oh, I do have a title also. So what is repeating over here? The characters are ones that are repeating. So each character is itself a component. Is this the React way to do it?
No.
No. Basically what you have these cards, right? And these each one is a component. Somebody took it too seriously and they said, well, everything is going to be a component. Everything is a unique component. Everything is a unique component. Basically, this is still the same thing. These are all same. So what you have to do is make one component and loop through it. In basic technical terms, create one component, merge them, and create one component, and then loop through, and then show those components. Looping through, remember the ES6 methods, filter, map, and for each. You'll be kind of using one of those. So I'm converting this into, let's see what my solution. Um, so I'm going to convert this into app. I still need the wrapper. Okay, and I still need the title. That's still a component, so that's all good. These things are repeating, so I can merge them into just one component and call it friend or something, whatever card. This is what I'm trying to convert from this to this.
So if you when you drop off the file, it augments, so you specify the directory run by part of the directory. You just specify the directories by default next time.
Where's my README?
So if you look into the source file, you can see that each friend has a
All right, friend card. Create this by creating a new friend card component.
Same thing. So we're trying to
And we'll pass down the differentiating content in the form of props.
Yep. It works, but if you look at it, it repeats.
We have to pass down this from props. So what is the parent? This is the full. Let's look at what is wrapper. Right. Any questions on the unsolved one? Did you guys look at the folder structure?
Yeah.
Everything makes sense?
Yeah.
So we're not making any changes here.
No, we have to. You have to read it. That's what I was saying. You have to convert this into this. You have to refactor. These are repeating components. This is bad design. We have to convert this into a single component called friend card. Well, since nobody is asking, does everybody understand why in each folder I have an index.js, but if I look at my app.js, how am I importing this? It imports the folder but not the file. Does everybody understand why? No, it's not the default part. Again, I remember from Node.js, I think it was Mongoose, I'm not sure. But when you are exporting and when you are importing something in Node.js, you use a require keyword. And if there is an index.js file, it will, if you just import the folder, like over here, it's going to by default go and look for an index.js file. This is a built-in property in Node.js. When you do export something, in ES6, when they brought the import and exports in our JavaScript, they follow the same thing. If you import just the folder, by default is going to look for an index.js file. You don't have to mention it. If I change this to spongebob.js, what's going to happen? It's not going to work. Then you have to import /spongebob whatever .js file. But with import export, if you're importing a folder, by default it looks for an index.js. So we are kind of we started with a simple case, no folder, now with a folder, and then we are coming to this thing. So ideally, again, I said as programmers, we are not very, we are short of names. I don't know what to name my component. So this is the easiest way. Everything is going to be index.js and it's by default it gets imported. Okay, so all my folders you will see are going to have index.js, but everything is isolated, right? Because these are individual components and these are differentiated by the folder. Okay, it's the same thing in Node.js also. If you look at your Mongoose activities, I think you have the models folder and it should have index.js. Ring a bell? No? Forgotten already?
Yes.
Right, but
Wasn't that like the question?
that's what you
that
asked. Yes,
answered?
yes,
That's
yes.
what I
This is
asked.
what
I
it
was
is.
like, I don't know.
So they carried they carried over the same functionality into our JavaScript ES6 also. So it just saves you typing /exact name. That's what it is.
So actually inside the wrapper, you have to have a title and a friend card.
That's what it looks like, yeah. Inside, now open up wrapper.
It has just an index.js.
Just index.js. Yes. And what is it doing? It's taking the props and kind of rendering this thing. What is props.children? It should be between the between the JSX tags. And what is between the JSX tags of wrapper? Everything, right? This is the starting. This is the ending. So this comes as a children. Console log it and see. Okay, everything within is this. So basically, wrapper takes these and kind of renders them in a big component. You can take wrapper out. I don't see a big use over here, but it's basically wrapping. That's what it is. It's creating a wrapper on top of this. You can do without it also, but that's how the structure is given to us. So we'll go with it. Again, make sure you understand and see and reason out that what is going on. Okay, so between the tags, children, any property comes as a property. So if they're using children over here, this means it's sending all of this and kind of basically renders it. This is in JavaScript, so in the curly braces, it renders exactly what comes to it. Okay, console log it and see what else is going on. The next ones are these cards. Then you can open up these. Okay, so you have a card and you are passing some information, these things over here. And now if you look at a SpongeBob card also, it's exactly the same. The only difference is the content. Compare both of these code. Everything, these tags, everything is same. The only difference is the data that we're passing in. Now we understand properties. You can actually just pass in properties and kind of loop through each one. You don't need like 3 individual cards. And that's the purpose of this exercise.
Where does that read the information from?
Which information?
The different, like the SpongeBob versus Mr. Cobb's.
Right. If you open in the unsalt, it's actually hard coded over there. In this one,
It's in the first index.
in any index file, in all your index files over here, Mr. Krabs, SpongeBob. It's over here. If you look at line number 16, that's where it is getting these from. So it's kind of hard coding these.
So it's in there for all three of them.
With different text.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's where the information is coming from.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And we need to take that information out. We need to create one card that does everything for us.
Right.
Yep. So to start with, you have to create a friend card component, create a folder, create a component, and then move on to the next part.
Is that considered in the content?
Is it what?
The friend card needs to be made in the content?
Components? Yes. Yes. All your components go inside. So you have to we'll eventually delete these, but I'm going to create a new folder called friends card. And then create index.js. And what do we have? Index style.css. Okay. Style.css. Okay. Now, when this solution, when you come to the solution, it should exactly, the screen should exactly look the same. You won't see any difference over here. Okay. It's just your code. You're making it more dry.
Here, so I've only got one card being included, friend card, and I literally just copied the SpongeBob's card over.
And then
They're all the same in structure, yeah. And then I just generic.
and then you need to import source friends JSON into app. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that.
It's like occupation, style occupations. And then it's just like, okay. And then when I was just calling the component in the apps.js, I'm just like passing in
Okay.
those variables.
So where did you where the friend name?
All right. Initially contains the same code as SpongeBob with the same CSS file. Okay. So we can go ahead and copy paste SpongeBob. Okay. And then copy the same style CSS.
Is that where you want the process?
Yeah. I honestly didn't edit anything in there in the router. If you need to see the rest of it, just
Okay. So I just copy pasted from SpongeBob file. We'll have to update it, but that's what I'm just going through the README and
just have
Okay.
friend name.
Require friend card component into this and render it inside the wrapper.
And then they'll pass that in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Dutch. Yeah. Friend card. And pass it in.
Okay. And then show it over here.
Just put it on in there.
So what should happen? I should see two SpongeBobs. Okay, there it is. This is one component. This is the second one.
Yeah, props.
Compiles, runs.
It's like props.
So we have completed this part. Now go ahead and pass these into your friend component. Interesting. So in your app.js, they're saying you have access to friends.json. And then you pass a name, image, occupation, and location. Okay. So if I open up this thing, so you have ID, image, occupation, location, and you are passing these into this one. So import is already done. Let's go ahead and pass this in. These are properties. So how do I pass in? Just like properties. So I can say name. Okay. The JSON is called friends on the top if you see my import. All right. I'm going to pass the first one for now. Okay. So my property, in my props object, I have one property called name now. I just created it. Okay. That's what's going to be passed into my friend cards component. I can do the same thing. The next was image. So I can create a new property object called image. And I'm just passing the first one over here, the first object from the JSON. Okay. The next one was occupation. Oh no. Okay. And the last one is location. Cool. I'm hard coding these. I mean, I'm not looping through right now. First, I'm trying to get to the point where my properties are passed in. And then, I think the bonus is you can loop through it. Alright? So, my friend's card, I'm passing in. It's not being used anywhere yet. But I'm able to pass in, still compiles. Everything is still good. Nothing has broken yet. Okay? Let's go back to the README. Where am I? So I did JSON file importing all of these four. Now I have to modify the friend card component so that it accepts and renders all the past props in place of the hard-coded values. Okay, that should be this one. Let's go back over here. So what are the properties that are being hard-coded here? Let's see. The name. First thing, I don't have props here, so I'm going to pass in props. Okay, still good. The next thing is SpongeBob. So this would be the name. Props.name. Let's create an X. Come on.
Daniel, where did you put your JSON?
I imported in my app.js.
But where is it located in the head directory?
Oh, it's in the main.
Oh, it's just
Same. Yeah.
Cool.
Should be in the unsolved.
Cool.
So I don't need this. Props.name, SpongeBob shows up. That's good. Occupation, same thing. Props.occupation. And there it is. And then props.location. Okay, so I'm going from hard-coded values. Now these are being passed in, and it shows up over there. And there's one more, right? Which one is that? Image. Excellent. Image, what do I have to do for the image? This thing? Sponge job looks good. I just need to update my source. And my source is props.image. Oh, there it is. All right. Exactly. You shouldn't see any difference in the UI. But the first one is actually being rendered from this one. Okay. If you really want to be fancy, you can change the alt text also, and this would be the name, right? Props.name and your.
What did you import JSON?
What?
When you imported the French JSON, what did you import?
Um,
Did you title case it, or was it?
no, I just copied from the README file whatever they said.
I didn't look at that.
In the README they said I just literally just copy pasted from README. It's called Friends.
And then that's just the array name.
Yeah, that's that. Why? Because it's if you open this up, it's importing the whole array. Okay. Yes.
Where are you grabbing drops from?
From here. I'm passing my props over here, right? Name, image, occupation, location. And then these are being passed into my friends part on my app. And if you open up your friends function, I added my props here. And then I can access all those properties. Yes.
On your friends part index, what else?
What else? What?
Never mind, you got it right there. Okay.
I'm passing 4 properties: image, occupation, location, and one more. Yes, Matt, you had a question? Question? No? Okay. Yes.
You need to change this as the apps level,
At the what?
apps.js,
Uh-huh.
to get the friends part. My, when I put it in, it's showing that it's not in use, so it needs to shake hands with what other area?
So it's just above these. Did you import it? Once I created, I did an import. You see line number 8. You have to import this and then use this over here. Instead of that, I'm passing now properties. Yes.
So if I wanted, I think I'm misremembering Thursday. If I wanted to loop through this, how would I insert how would I go about inserting the for loop?
It has to be. We'll get to it. We have an access, but it has to be inside this.
Okay, I'm putting it inside of curly braces, but it's still coming up with errors.
With what?
With errors. It's not compliant. So I've got so I've got about these curly braces for it's throwing errors. I haven't done anything with this yet, or I don't know what's
Never actually.
I see what you're so this. What has to happen is it has to be try the.
It can't just be 4. Is it like 4 each?
I think both of them should work, but let's see. Yes, I will. We'll come to the for each part. But there's an exercise. We'll do that and then we'll come. Yes. Index.js.
Now, this is the one that actually has the straight down version of all the names, SpongeBob and everything changed over.
Yes.
Okay. So you left it on the card?
We'll change it. I'm at the last. What is it?
I think it was the 4. once I changed that for each,
Right.
it was fine.
Right.
It was fine.
Yes, I would highly recommend go ahead and rename this SpongeBob card to a friend's card. But why is it working? Why is it working? What is it? Huh?
You use the 0 for the place in the friend object.
No. I'm saying that my index, my friend's card, it doesn't matter. So I still have it called SpongeBob card over here, right? But in my app.js, I'm importing a default, and I can give this any name. Remember from our ES6, you can give this anything you want, the name, and that's why it still works. So the question is that I'm calling this friends card, right? In my friends card, I have index.js, but my index.js, the function component is still called SpongeBob card. This is a more general one, right? It should be called friends card, but it still works. Why? At the bottom, I'm saying default. I'm exporting as a default, and my app.js, I'm kind of renaming it to friends card. That's why it still works.
Oh, the only thing that matters.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yes.
That's why you got two SpongeBob's up there.
Yeah, and I'm going to remove these. The last point is to remove all of these. So if you go to the README, the last one is go ahead and remove all of them, and you should pass friend component like multiple times. So all of these are going to go away. Okay, and now I'm just.
Oh!
Not yet. People are still kind of traumatized by this. But yeah, he did the loop. You did the loop. Yeah, we'll come to the looping part in a different exercise. Then come back over here and then refactor it.
They're on the screen.
Two.
Were there only 3 of them?
There's 3. I don't know. I'll just put. How many are there? It'll give me an error if there's only 3. And there it is. Yes. Div class name. Which file are we talking? Under where? Yeah, you still need it. Yeah, nothing changed over here. It's still the same. Oh, no. And then you can go ahead and delete. Alright, still works. No, don't change it. Don't change it. I'm still referring it to some. Where am I referring this? Friends card. Friends card index. Oh, at the bottom. All right. Any other questions?
Can we go through iterating through?
We'll for this one. Trust me. Towards the end, we'll study more, and we'll come back to the same exercise. You will. What is it?
Red lines, squigglies I have on my screen.
This Google disable lint. You can disable the whole lint. Disable lint. I think there's a configuration over here. I don't remember it, but yes.
Where did you import the JSON, the friends?
Right here in the README, it said copy this and put it on app.js.
I'm saying I'm not using. I haven't used it.
Right. Are you using it like this?
Yeah, I got. Maybe I need to say it.
All right.
Now I'm using it.
What else? Any other questions? Got it? Somehow?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is the easy ones.
Well, at least it showed.
All right, now we are going to look at looping through these. Well, not exactly this. We'll start with something simpler and then we'll convert into the looping part. Oh, yes, yes. Right. Where is it?
You can create a variable.
All right, so the question is, it just has a JSON file and you are importing this. Where is it? All right, so why is this working, but why is that not working? Again, you will have to do an export and import if in the same JSON file, if you give it a name. Right now, what is it? It's just this, right? If you say const array is equal to this, then it will stop working. Why? Because now you need to specify the export over here. If you just put it like a blank thing, like just a variable, it just exports whatever it encounters over. There's no name, there's nothing over here. That's why it works over here. But if you give this a name like a const array is equal to, then it will stop working. Then you have to specify that.
So if the whole file is an object.
Yeah, it just exports the whole file. Yeah, and you see from the same. And it's kind of similar concept to the default one. Remember, default, it doesn't look for anything, but default just exports everything over here. It doesn't work. But we do have a name over here. That's why you have to specify the name. But JSON file, give it a name and it will stop working. So that's why it is working. All right. Let's see. Let's go on to the next one. Ready or not, this is coming. Nick or Max, can you guys slack out number 26? Number 26. Take a look at it. Again, calm down. Read the README file.
Never.
And then look at the components, component map. Again, we have the knowledge. We did the map from ES6. It's just how do we use it over here? Remember what does map do? What's the difference between map and everything else, like filter for each? Right. Start with the first thing. What does map return? Returns an array, and the size of the array is same. Good point. Yeah. So it's going to return you an array, and it's going to have the exact same size as the one that it gets. Okay. Excellent. The next part, Blair, you were saying that what does it do? Right. It basically manipulates your contents of the array. You will still have the same size, but it kind of manipulates the elements that it gets. That's what map does. Okay. With that knowledge, look at the exercise and see what the ask is. First things first. Let's go ahead and run this. And see what comes up. It's coming up. There you go. Taking a while. There it is. So this is this is number 26. And Max slacked it out. Go ahead and add the bootstrap so it kind of shows up nicely. Did I do that? Let's see. Nope. Okay. Go ahead and add this bootstrap link. Oops, wrong one. Bootstrap link is done. Then look at your app and list. Let's see how does our this code looks like. So let's open up app. Okay, so I have an array of objects. Okay, let's draw this one out. So I have my app component, and then I have my list component. Okay, and this component is passing some props. Okay, it's getting props called groceries, which is an array of objects. So in my list component, I should be getting this list over here. Okay. The first thing I would do is console log props so that you guys clearly understand what you're getting. Let's see. Okay, I'm not getting anything. What is wrong? Why am I not getting anything? It's passing, right? Let's go back and see app, groceries, list, props, console log props. It should still. And the return? Still worked over here. Not sure why. Yeah, I should give another. Makes sense. Okay. So now I need to debug and see why mine is not working. Maybe something is not set up. Oh, there it is. It was just taking time, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so this is what I'm getting. I'm getting an array of objects. Okay.
Can you just replace the placeholder from the new one that we're doing with the
Yes. Yep, that should do it. Yeah. All right. So let's see. Replace your. All right. Study app and list. So the property is called groceries. So now I know it's called groceries. So you can say props dot groceries. And there's my exact array. Okay. Now modify the list component so that inside its UL tags unordered list, it renders one li tag for each item of the array. What is it? So how does the UL tag work? What's a
Creates like it's an unordered list.
What?
It creates.
So you do UL, right? And then you have a bunch of LIs, right?
Oh, so it's saying to put the LIs in there. Okay.
Yep.
I was like,
And LIs will have your grocery items.
It says the one,
Yeah.
do it in one
makes
list item element.
What is it?
It says to do it with only one list item element.
yeah.
For each grocery.
Each grocery. Each, yeah. It's a again, take a minute to understand what you are getting. It's an object, right? you have to loop through and then put a li tag. And then you have to use the map function. So let's see, what do I have? I have class name, list, using the map method. Okay, so I understand this, so I don't need this. So what do I have to do? I have to do li tags, right? With a class name. I'll forget about the class name for now. So I need li tags, and then I need to render. Let's hard code something. Groceries. Props dot groceries 0. Oh wow. Okay. Look at that. Groceries dot name. Okay. I mean, eventually this is what has. This is hard. This is not how you do it, because I now only have just one. I want all of them to be displayed as a list, right? So this is not going to work. But eventually, this is what your code should be evaluated. So if I add a new one, I would change this to 1, right? Then I get milk and eggs, but I want all of them, so I have to loop through it. Eventually, it will do it, but you don't have to do this. But this is I'm showing you as a starting point. So now I understand how to access these. This is what li means to. Now I have to create a map and then call these inside. There is a class CSS that I can import. What is that? Oh, list. Okay, let's get this so that it looks kind of a little bit nicer. Class name. Ist.
Ist group item.
Oh, there. That's better. All right. So this is a good starting point. Now you go ahead and take a look at the map function and see how would you put map function over here. You got it?
Do we have to iterate through the array with the map?
Uh,
Or can we use something else?
You can do something else. But why are we using map? What map does is you pass in the original array. What is my array over here? It's groceries, right? And this groceries it's just a array of objects. What am I going to use map for? I'm going to this object and change it. How do I change it? I will put in li's in this array and then return them. That's why I'm using map. But you can use it for each. You can use different one. But the exercise is saying map, so I'm going to show you, or you need to understand how to use map. If not, at least write out the syntax for the map function. How would you use the map? Stub it out.
Groceries.map.
Exactly. So that's a good one. And since this is JavaScript code, so I need the curly brace, right? It won't recognize. Okay, good one. So props dot groceries dot map. Okay, excellent. So at least I have stubbed it out, and this is my map function. Okay, this is how we do. I mean, it's not complete. That's why it's giving error. Why? What does map require? What is it? Parameters. Yes. What parameter? No, that's object. Please. What is map? Map requires a callback function. Thank you. Everything is callback at this point. All of those map for each filter callback functions. Right. So I need to pass in a callback function over here, which will iterate through the list. And if we were using ES5, you would say function, anonymous function, all that stuff, right? But we'll get into the habit of doing the ES6 syntax. So that would be the arrow function. The syntax is parentheses, arrow, and this thing, right? So far so good. Now my map, it's expecting a callback function, and the callback function has what are the arguments that I need to pass? Parameters, value, index, and the whole array. Remember, these are kind of optional. We can leave these two out. We'll just use the value. Okay. So what am I getting in my callback function is the value that would be the each item in my array. Okay. And then I have to do something with this. All right. I'm using only one parameter, so I'm going to remove the not the e, but the curly brackets, since this is just one. Okay, so far so good. So now we are getting a value, and this would be each index. So just to make sure that this is working, you can console log value, get it back, and it should show up each one over here. Okay, so I'm getting each element from my array now. What is this saying? Yeah, I'll remove these parentheses eventually. Okay, so now what do I, what's the repetition over here? This is repeating, right? Li. So we can go ahead and move this here. Fix this. Let's remove. I don't need the console log for now, so let's go ahead and remove this. Yes. So because I'm getting this value now, I need to show this value over here. So that's why I'm putting it over here. So instead of props, I already have the value. So this changes to value.name. Okay, it still doesn't like it. We'll go ahead and fix it. What is it? Yeah, we'll fix that. So I have my map.value. I'm getting this, but eventually this is what I'm getting it to. The difference is I need to remove. Why is it value? Because I'm getting value now, right? I'm iterating through. I'm getting my object is in my this thing, whatever I called it over. You can call it result, value, item. But yes, we are going away from that part. Yeah, we're going away from this. Okay, let's go ahead and so this remove this thing. Okay, why did I remove this? It's just one line, and I want this to be returned. Remember, map, the function has to return an array, right? Right, it has to return something. If I remove these curly parentheses, what happens is it calculates it and auto returns that array. Let's wrap this up into. Right, I don't need to tell. Oops. Okay, well, at least it shows up. It's still giving me a warning. We'll go ahead and fix that warning. But you see what happened? I replaced it. I'm looping through, and I removed the curly braces. Why? Remember, if you put the curly braces, you have to explicitly say return. So if you remove it, it will calculate this and auto return it. So my map is actually returning a new array, and this array has now this thing. Right? You can do a for each, but map kind of, what does map do? It goes to each item and kind of changes it up. All right, so instead of this, original array was an array of objects. Now I changed it. Now it is still an array, but this time the array has li this thing inside, embedded inside it. Okay. The last thing is, if you look at the warning, it's saying it should have a unique key prop each child in a list. So you can go ahead and add that as well. No big deal. So basically, it is saying you need to have a key attribute over here, and in your props, we are already getting an object called key. Where is it, the key? Oh, there's no key. We can use ID. Sorry, it's ID. Okay, so the warning just goes. This is what it's saying. I mean, this is more like a React thing that they're saying. Oh, there should be a unique one, and we'll see when you're doing more programming. It could be like a drop down or something, and you need to exactly find out what was selected. That's why it needs it. But this is how you would use map, and you would get your LIs or something. This is how you will loop through it. Okay, again, why did we use map? Because we are getting an array of object and we are changing into an array that looks like this. Li, class name, and everything. That's why. Do a console log and see. Did you try a console log? Try a console. This is returning an array, right? So put it in a another, just in a variable, and put it over there. Yeah. See how it looks. It's still going to be an object, but instead it will have these things. Okay. All right. Questions? Yes.
Is there a reason why we have the double parentheses? Like I don't have the second parentheses after value. And mine
Which one?
like
This
it
one?
didn't give me it
This
didn't
one?
give me the one.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Oh, okay.
No, you don't need it. But remember, I like to do it because I want to. When somebody looks at my code, if somebody sees this, they know that this ends over here. This is part of everything. This is unnecessary from the coding perspective. It gets ignored. But when a human is looking at it, you can tell that all my operations are part of this thing. This is where it stops. Remember, in my if conditions, in my if conditions, I use unnecessary. If you have if, then I use a parentheses, print, and again, you don't need these. It's just so that it's grouping, and visually I can see and understand that this is part of one thing. But you don't need it, yes.
What was the reason why you got the warning? Because I didn't get the warning when you got it.
If you remove this key,
Yeah.
then it will give you a warning. You don't get it? I'm getting it because if I don't have this key.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Why is it?
Yeah. What is it? Why is it not what? Oh, this is the map function. So this whole thing is inside the big curly braces. That's why. You don't need anything. Yeah, it is already inside the curly braces. Yeah, this is all JavaScript now. This is all JavaScript. We are already rendering it.
Okay, because I didn't have the key, and then I wasn't even looking at the
Right. All right. All right. Let's break for lunch. We'll start at 12:45, and we'll look at the next part, which is state. Yes. Questions.
Shouldn't we be able to also throw in value without purchase in there?
Yeah, you can. How did you do it?
Curly brackets, value without purchase.
I usually just go
Value without
Is it purchase or is it a different name?
I just modified
It's been, I just
I'm like through everything. I just want to see as little of the problem.
Oh, come on. Yes. Fail to compile. Oh, it's a boolean. That's why it doesn't show. Let me do an ID. Hold on. Give me a minute. Oh, what is it? No, this should also work. Yeah. It's a boolean, so it doesn't show up true and false. It should work. Yeah, it should work. Yeah, you can do that also. But this should work, and that's why you see. The purchase was a true and false resolution. Yes. What was your question? Did you create the app correctly? The React app?
So that's not what
Usually,
Yeah, I like it though because it let me have everything as a thing.
That's
I'm fine with it just being like one by like that. Did I get to
are you looking at the right index or two?
It's funny because it's like literally the same company. They say and they're both stuck on electrons. It's probably not going to get updated too often now.
Where do you add your bootstrap?
It's added in the index.
Index file, index or GS or HTML? Where does your, remember week 1, where do we add our, come on, where do we add our CSS? And now I need to have, where do we add our CSS? Where do we, index or HTML?
That's right. I know my brain is stopped. Yeah. And I brought a coffee on because I needed it. I'm like, I know I'm doing everything right. I can't believe I did
Yeah, that's the best way to do it. I was a little upset because I literally just, I was planning on writing it down. Reformatting everything, refactoring it all to like, a map, and then I just changed 4H to map and everything just popped out, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Easier than I was expecting, but
I mean, I did.
I was emotionally prepared for work.
I did it enough. I was telling him it renders the page and like I have everything. It doesn't
More of these examples,
save
obviously this
notes
is
very well right now.
we'll actually get to
I've been so focused on React that I don't really care about all those things.
so
Like I've been doing tutorials.
yeah,
Yeah, recently week, I don't think I'm really be using a lot of much.
Yeah, so
it looks similar
I
to
would
what
prefer
you just
to
have
learn
on
more
React.
React.
Instead of saying props, friends, now, you'll call this
Is that yours? That's good.
The next thing we got, your state is, what state changes, and React is smart enough to pick up.
Oh, you said yours from the New York Times? Yeah, I did mine too. Because I tried doing Reddit and subreddit soccer. Dude, it was way too hard. Like trying to go through all the different elements that they had, and then I was all the right elements. And then 2 days later, like I got my, I would call like an H2 inside of like all these different divs.
well, it works. I was upset that it was so easy.
The header.
Usually
So one day it was H2, the next day I went back and was like inspecting and it was H3. I was like, this is so fucked. That's really said it's my mom.
No, but they
it's not gonna work.
But they also